Hi, my name's Lindy Cowling, and today I would like to talk about the dark side of twin flames. If you would like to check out my background, my website is www.lindycowling.co.uk. I like to talk about this because not many people are talking about the more darker elements of the connection of high soul connections. And again, I will only ever talk about stuff that I've had experience of directly within the twin flame union, or I would talk about stuff that I have had experience of through connecting with my clients. So I won't talk about anything that's just a hypothesis or a theory. I will talk from direct experience. And it's something that I feel needs to be spoken about because when I was going through elements of this, there was very little information I could find on it, on the web, on the internet, and it would have been useful at the time. When I will apply it again to soul connections and twin flames, but I could also apply this to other connections with people. But when you come into connection and you have had a past life history with that person, which means that you've lived in previous lives, previous incarnations with them, what we would call past lives, although you'll hear me say in all the videos that I do, is that the past, present and future all exist at the same time. So we are multi-dimensional beings, which means elements of us are experienced the past, present and future all at the same time. We're doing this. But when you have that history, that energy history, that soul history with someone, it is a very, very, very powerful connection, much more powerful than a connection with someone through normal attraction and personality. And these connections obviously are designed that way. Your soul, our souls, chose to come down here, chose to be born at this time, chose to experience the way we're experiencing in order to learn, in order to grow. But also there's a bigger picture here, and a lot of us, in order to clear the bloodlines, cleanse out any physical, mental, emotional abnormalities, if you like, we'll use that word, in our history, family histories, but also in the old humanities template. So a lot of us fall into that category. So again, there's a bigger picture. But when you have these high level soul connections, all this stuff comes up. As a soul, as a soul connection, or as a twin flame, a one soul being, a masculine and feminine charge within two humans, a male and a female human, you can experience not only all this stuff coming up, but you can experience the more uncomfortable elements of what we call polarity. Let us be completely honest here about energy. Energy is energy, but there has always been the opposites, and there's always been that polarity, and there's always been like light and dark. And if you didn't have the dark sky at night, then you wouldn't be able to see the stars, and this kind of analogy. And you know, another analogy is the brighter the light, the more the shadow shows up. You will never have a better opportunity than that of connecting with a high soul connection, such as a twin, to see, learn from, embrace and clear elements of your own shadow. Because everybody has what we would call a shadow. Everybody has those repressed, suppressed, uncomfortable elements to them. And I'm going to say again, they may not just be suppressed from this life at the shadow. You know, you could have carried this through all your lives, you know. And these connections give you a huge opportunity because of the amount of light they throw out. They really show up this shadow, really do show it up. And you have a golden opportunity here, really, to look at what's coming up and to wade through it. Now, it's easy for me to say it now, but at the time this can be very uncomfortable because it can bring up all sorts of things. And you can really see the more extreme elements of not just in the personality of the person that you're connecting with, but of the bloodline, of those characteristics of the family history that can all come up. Sometimes these soul connections, and Bill Ballard, often in these videos I will cite the work of other people that I resonate with, whose work I respect, and there's a lot of them I'm not mentioning on here because there isn't the time, but he comes to mind straight away. Bill Ballard cites this, where he has had a twin flame experience where he has had to embrace, and she has had to embrace, elements of the polarity, where the soul has chosen to experience different elements of human experience. So the soul might choose to experience the lightest of the light and the most joyous of love, but also the darkest of the dark, the depths of hell. And we all have elements of that experience within us. But never will it be more extreme than if you experience that within a high soul connection or than with a twin, because the intensity is very strong. And it may be that your soul chose for you to experience this separately. So for example, Lindy experiencing the shadow of Lindy, the light of Lindy, and my twin experiencing the shadow of him and the light of him. But also it can play out that one of you can be experiencing very much the light and coming from the heart, and one of you can be experiencing very much the more darker elements and not coming from the heart. It can shift, it can change according to what the soul has set up, but it can also shift and change according to outside interference. What do I mean by outside interference? When you come into a high soul connection, it can trigger not only a monumental amount between the two of you, the masculine and the feminine, but it can trigger an enormous amount, a barrage of stuff in all the people immediately around you. This would be your immediate family, parents, brothers, sisters, friends, work colleagues, to a lesser degree, but it triggers stuff in other people. So your existence then triggers up and brings up lots of stuff within those people, lots of stuff, their own baggage, their own judgments, their own feelings on what love is, what relationships should be, their own hang-ups, all extremes. And it can bring up a lot of jealousy, a lot of hostility, a lot of guilt, all this kind of thing. And people can interfere with these soul connections, these unions, either directly by voicing it, or indirectly by manipulation and control, and sometimes quite actively to try and bring the union down. You could say to me, but Lindy, how can something as strong as the twin flame union ever get brought down by family around you? I can tell you from experience, but also from the twins that I work with, that because we have human characteristics and we are in human bodies and we have human personalities and we are in physical lives, that those people can have a profound effect on the union and on the personalities of the souls, the twins connected, and they can be positive for it or very detrimental to it, and very instrumental in bringing those unions down. So there is that element of that, and this is something that people often don't talk about. But I'm going to go a step further, a little bit deeper on this now, and say that because everything is energy, and the energy of that love and the energy of that light is very strong in twins, that you can also experience interference from outside of the twin flame union, from more negative, darker elements of energy. These would be such as entities, for example, And again, I will not speak about anything that I haven't experienced or dealt with within other people. And you could say that was random, or you could say that the twins were actually targeted. And you could say, but why would they be targeted? Well, why would there be a vested interest in taking down a powerful, loving connection? Well, I think I've kind of answered that for you in that sentence. There would be a lot of vested interest in taking down a powerful, loving connection that's a template if you were not of the light and you were more of the darker elements of energy. So there can be this polarity and this involvement as well. So not only have you got the shadow side of the twin, not only have you within yourself, but also within the twin being bounced back between you and mirrored between you, but you can also have the polarity of the soul where one takes on the darkness and one takes on the light, or that switches. But you can also have entities interfering, attachments interfering, negative energy interfering, implants put into the bloodline, curses put on the bloodline. And I only speak about the experiences that I've had and seen and witnessed. And if you want to go more into this, you could check out the work of Brenda Tenerelli from the United States, Brenda Tenerelli, or you can check out the work of Eve Lorgan. Google these guys, they have their websites. I have connections with both Eve Lorgan and Brenda Tenerelli. If you want to see more into the dark side of Cupid, I can only speak from my experience, and I have seen this and been through this as part of the connection as well. What I can tell you from my experience is the outside darker element of interference always comes around the same bloodline throughout humanity, and that is a bloodline of control, manipulation, narcissism. Something about that bloodline makes it ideal for the souls that have this in their energy bodies to be targeted, because of course that's in their personality, that's in their personality to start with. If you want to say it's their chink in their armour, their Achilles heel, I can say this absolutely categorically from experience, and I'm passionate about this part of my work because I'm seeing it worldwide in others as well as what I've experienced. So again, check out Brenda Tenerelli, check out Eve Lorgan, and you're welcome to speak to me on it. And I'm dealing with a lot of people with this element of it. All I could say is that awareness and wisdom and knowledge is power, and it's good to have this out there and talk about this. People will say, oh, is this the shadow twin? There are elements of that, the shadow twin. You know, there can be shadow twins where, another twin will come in and mimic the twin flame energy to take the energy of the other one. I don't resonate so much with that. I don't really want to go down that role and that route with this now, because I'm not resonating with that on a personal level, because I haven't experienced that bit of it. But I have experienced some of the other things I'm talking about. But I have also experienced, I'm not saying the shadow twin doesn't exist. I fully accept energy is energy, and it may well exist, but I haven't experienced it, and I can only speak about what I've experienced. What I will say is that as part of a spiritual evolution and a spiritual growth, sometimes you do have to go right into the shadow and into some very dark places. And I've had to go through the toughest time of my life, and what you would call the dark night of the soul. I've had to visit some places I don't ever want to go back to again. I hope in this lifetime I never have to go back to them again. Do I think I might have to? I don't know. I don't know if my soul's done what it's supposed to do yet and cleared what it's supposed to clear yet. I hope I don't have to go back there, but maybe I will. But that's part of your spiritual evolution again. You cannot have that element of the lightest of the light without peering into the dark first. And like I say, you wouldn't have the stars if you didn't have the night sky. The brighter the light, the darker the shadow it shows up. That's part of the polarity within all of us, and part of the polarity within twin flames. And on that note, I'm going to love you and leave you. So thank you very much for listening to me again today. Thank you. Bye-bye.